We head to Switzerland for our first story, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has not decided yet on travelling to Davos, as the US has not made it clear if a substantive meeting with President Donald Trump will happen regarding the peace process. In fact, Ukrainian officials have stated that they are prepared to sign two significant agreements with US President Donald Trump during the World Economic Forum in Davos, provided the US side is ready. Now, at the same time, the Kremlin has said that Russian envoy Kirill Dmitriev also plans to meet members of the US delegation at the summit. According to Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, Kirill Dmitriev will pass on information concerning the peace process in Ukraine. Now, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has stated during his annual press conference that it is unlikely Russia can reach agreements with the current group of European leaders. Lavrov claimed that European leaders remain focused on inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia and are encouraging NATO to prepare for direct military conflict. He has identified Europe and the European Union as a main stumbling block to ending the conflict in Ukraine, specifically contrasting their stance with ongoing diplomatic efforts involving the United States. Joining us now to discuss these developments is Ben Aris. He's a former Moscow bureau chief at the Daily Telegraph. He joins us live from Berlin. Ben, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us once again. It's a pleasure to have you, of course. Now, it's a big week now with the World Economic Forum kicking off. Delegations from all around the world are expected to be in attendance. However, of course, the two geopolitical matters, particularly when it comes to European affairs, of course, Greenland and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, all parties to discuss both issues will be there. However, we're now seeing news that Zelensky is unsure whether Donald Trump is going to meet him here at Davos, but we know that delegations from all three sides are indeed there. What hopes do you have in Switzerland this week? Do you think there'll be any developments when it comes to moving closer to peace?
I doubt it. There was a lot of progress in December in terms of the peace talks. There was a Moscow meeting at the start of December. Dmitriev was going to be there in Davos, participated in that together with the US envoys led by Vitkov. And they thrashed out a 27-point peace plan, which Putin, who was at the meeting, more or less signed off on. However, then there was a series of meetings in Berlin and another key one in Mar-a-Lago between Trump and Zelensky, particularly that one, where they were trying to persuade Zelensky to accept this 27-point plan. He refused. He came back with a 20-point plan. But the whole thing turns on the two key issues of territory. Zelensky is being asked to give up the Donbass completely, and security guarantees. Zelensky is insisting that his allies, particularly the States, give him real Article 5-like military security guarantees that will secure Ukraine's borders in the future against a possible Russian attack. And we got stuck at that point. So the talks now are stalled. There was a meeting in Miami at the weekend between Vitkov and Umerkov, the head of the Ukrainian delegation, where they were talking again. But again, no progress was made at that meeting. And so a prospective meeting between Zelensky and Trump would be all about Zelensky accepting the deal on the table. That's Trump's position. You know, we're done. We've agreed with the Russians. We have a peace plan that would work. You have to accept it. No wiggle room. And Zelensky's stalling. He has to have these security guarantees. That's absolutely key for him. And unless that's going to happen, unless he's prepared to give up the territory, there's no point in meeting Trump. And Trump's well aware of that. And then the mood coming out of the Miami meeting at the weekend is that they're stalled. The two sides are stalled. And so I think the chances of a meeting between Trump and Zelensky are very low, because I don't think Zelensky is willing to back off his security agreement demand. And without that, there's nothing to talk about.
Ben, of course, there are two main things, that are concerning the European continent right now. One is, of course, the conflict that we're discussing. The other is Greenland. How could both of these issues work together in dividing that transatlantic relationship at this point in time? Of course, both are at the forefront currently of Donald Trump's mind. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think there is a transatlantic relationship anymore. I think Trump has introduced his new Monroe version, Dunroe doctrine. He's saying the Western Hemisphere belongs to us, according to the new national security strategy he released last year in December, that basically the EU has been downgraded from an equal partner, which it has been since the end of the Second World War, to a vassal of the US, and Trump is dictating to Europe. In fact, the language in the NSS was extremely aggressive against Europe. It was singled out, not Russia, not China, but the EU was singled out for aggressive, very negative comments where the US has said it will openly interfere in European domestic politics in order to promote far-right candidates. Here in Germany, we have the AfD, a far-right party that's doing extremely well, but is pariahed by the rest of society. And the Trump team are openly backing this neo-fascist party in Germany, and the Europeans are not happy about it. On the European side, they're deluding themselves that there is still some sort of special relationship and that they are partners, and Trump is rubbing their nose in it again and again. And I think Davos will see the same thing. The EU delegation are going there. They're going to try and negotiate with Trump, trying to get him to back off this idea of annexing Greenland, and it's going to go nowhere. Really, it just comes down to if Trump carries through on his threat to put 100,000 soldiers into Greenland and simply take it.
Ben, do stay with us once again as we move on to another development from Europe and